topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good morning, Atlanta. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show brought to you by attorney Todd Henningsen. He is a personal injury attorney in the city of Atlanta. He's actually one of the top personal injury attorneys. Call him today and make a free consultation appointment at 404-835-4935. So today's show, it's kind of a special show because I hear all these ads all day long about weight loss. And listen, if it were that easy, no one would have a weight problem. We were able about a year ago to find one of the top MDs in the country who just so happens to be in the Atlanta area. And I have learned so much from this doctor about weight loss and the struggles. And today's show, we're going to dedicate to women. We've been talking more about in general, but today we're really going to target women. We are so lucky. I'm telling you, if you or a family member or a friend has a weight loss problem, I am telling you, you do not want to miss today's show. Let me welcome our guest, our expert, Dr. Eldred Taylor of the Taylor Medical Group, specializing in wellness. And I am telling you, sit back, take notes. It'll be an amazing show. Welcome, Dr. Taylor.
Hello, Steve. That was a heck of an introduction. I hope I can live up to it.
You know what? I trust you so much. And, you know, I got to tell you, the things that you say make so much sense. And, you know, a show like this, because we know that a lot of people get so frustrated. You know, they don't lose the weight. They try to do everything. There's not a magic pill out there. And today, you know, Dr. Taylor, you are an MD. I mean, you're not a chiropractor. You're not a, you know, someone who is trying to sell supplements. You're selling a lifestyle. That's the best way to put it. And we are getting so many letters from people saying, I accidentally found your show. I love podcasts. You've got some of the great shows. And because we're always getting new listeners, Dr. Taylor, please tell everybody one of the most incredible stories of how you got started in your practice. About your background.
Yeah, well, I'm originally from Nashville, Tennessee. I went to Vanderbilt undergrad and came to Atlanta to go to Emory for medical school. Did a residency here in obstetrics and gynecology at Emory and practiced OBGYN like most OBGYNs that your audience would know. You know, I did pap smears, I delivered babies, you know, took out fibroids, helped women with you know, issues with bleeding and things. And that went fine. And, that turned out fine for me until my wife started having hormone issues, you know, irregular periods, mood swings, things like that. And I was doing what I was doing for patients, which was giving them birth control pills, and it really wasn't working. And so living with somebody 24/7 is a lot different than seeing somebody for 10 or 15 minutes in an exam room. You write a prescription and you don't know if it's really helping or not. So anyway, I saw that it wasn't helping. Had a patient come in, tell me about natural hormones, bioidentical hormones, and gave me this tape. And it was talking about how to measure hormones through saliva, which we never measured hormones when I was in my residence. We just guessed, gave you some type of birth control pill, some kind of Premarin and Provera, and hoped it worked. And that is what changed my life, is learning how to actually diagnose and treat hormonal issues in women and now in men. And the only reason why I got interested in weight loss is that after these women got their hormones balanced, they would come back in and say, "Doc, I lost 10 pounds and I was exercising and working out before and nothing was happening. Now that I'm not having hot flashes, I'm sleeping, my moods are normal and my hormones are balanced according to your testing and according to how I feel, all of a sudden I lost 10 or 15 pounds." So that's kind of how it evolved. So now for the last 15, 16 years, I've been doing more holistic type medicine. We've written 2 books, one book called Are Your Hormones Making You Sick? And the other book called The Stress Connection. And I learned from the reason why I wrote that book, The Stress Connection, how stress is involved in almost any condition that patients have. Stress can make a pre-existing condition worse, or it can expose a condition that had been suppressed. So those are 2 books we wrote, and those are the hormones that we're talking about: estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, and the stress hormone cortisol. All of those can play a role in gaining weight or the inability to lose weight.
Dr. Taylor, times are so different now. I mean, you look at the killings that are going on.
Yeah.
The hate that are in people's hearts.
Yeah.
You talk a lot about stress. Have you noticed the stress factors being higher now than they were, say, 4 or 5 years ago?
Well, one of the tenets in my book, The Stress Connection, and the reason why I decided to write it, there was a study, and I think it was like 1990. So that's, 30 years ago. That said,
Yes.
75 to 90% of all visits to primary care physicians are for stress-related complaints or disorders. So that was 30 years ago. They said 75 to 90% of all complaints to primary care physicians are stress-related conditions. So I'm like, well, if I'm a physician and 75 to 90% of my patients' problems have something to do with stress, I need to become a stress expert. So yeah, stress is involved in almost every chronic disease, everything. So if it was a 75 to 90% 30 years ago, it's probably 95 to 100%. So stress definitely is involved with autoimmune disorders, with GI disorders, with cancer, with heart disease. Most heart attacks happen on Monday morning when people are stressed out about going back to work. And the body is built for acute stress. Hey, it's a fight or flight. Hey, we run away from the tiger or whatever. But being bombarded with 24-hour news, a mass shooting every day, politicians screaming and yelling at each other, you just sometimes you have to take a break. I don't look at the news. I don't look at local news. You just happen to hear on the radio about major issues, but the body's not built to take on the whole world's stress, and it definitely plays a toll or places a toll on a person's health.
Dr. Taylor, I don't think people realize that you cannot diet and exercise your way past hormone imbalance. And I've learned from you that hormone imbalance is very, very important.
Yeah. So if you're talking about women, so I had a woman come in yesterday, said, Doc, I don't understand it. I've been 140 pounds, 130 pounds, whatever she said. Says all of a sudden at menopause, I gained 20 pounds. I haven't changed anything. I haven't done anything different. I just gained 20 pounds over the last 2 or 3 years. Well, that's hard. The only thing that changed in her is at menopause. And at menopause, what changes, and this is a myth that I got to get over, across the people. For years and years and years, people talked about menopause being a deficiency in estrogen. The patients aren't making estrogen anymore. Well, that's really not the case. God kind of made it where women could continue to make estrogen after menopause because your fat tissue is able to convert androstenedione and testosterone, these two other hormones, into estrogen in the fat tissue. That's why women are normally supposed to have a little bit more fat than men so that they can still produce estrogen. What does go away at menopause is progesterone. Progesterone is the balancing hormone of estrogen. Where estrogen makes you store fat and the fat makes more estrogen, progesterone is there to help you to burn fat for energy. So premenopausally, you have estrogen and you have progesterone. Progesterone is made when you ovulate. Estrogen gets you prepared for ovulation. So anyway, make a long story short, all menopausal women will stop ovulating. They'll stop making an egg, so they're no longer reproductive. So what you really lose in menopause is your ability to burn fat for energy because progesterone goes away. Now, if you look in the blood, and that'll be a whole nother podcast, it'll look like all of your hormones are low. It's negating the fact that the fat tissue is still making estrogen because the blood only tells you what's coming from the ovary, and the ovary is not making estrogen anymore. So if you look in saliva, I will tell you 80% of the patients that I have are making a significant amount or adequate amount of estrogen, but their progesterone has gone down, almost to zero. So the way you balance that is to add progesterone so you can burn that fat for energy that the estrogen is causing. And now their hormones are balanced and they're more likely to lose weight. The postmenopausal women who probably will need estrogen are very thin women because they have no fat tissue that's converting androstenedione and testosterone to estrogen. So that is the myth that, if I'm menopausal, I need estrogen. Even if you've had a hysterectomy and they've removed your ovaries, your fat tissue is still making estrogen. So the kind of dogma that I've been fighting for 20 years is that menopause is not an estrogen deficiency condition. It's an estrogen progesterone imbalance condition, and you can balance it by adding back the progesterone. And I don't want to go too long, but the other hormone that's involved in there is cortisol. Cortisol mobilizes glucose so that you have energy during the day. It should be high in the morning and low at night. When you're under chronic stress, cortisol, or the adrenal gland that makes cortisol, becomes fatigued. It can't keep that energy level flowing. And when you don't have that constant production of energy through cortisol, you have to fill in that energy gap. And the easiest way your body knows how to do that is to make you crave carbohydrates. And so that just exacerbates the weight problem because you find yourself unable to avoid eating carbohydrates. You're actually craving them. You shouldn't eat them, but you eat them anyway. And so if cortisol is out of balance, that's going to cause a weight problem also. So you have to look at all three of those hormones when you're trying to diet and exercise your way past a hormone problem. You got to fix all three of those, and then you should see some significant results from the effort that you put in.
Dr. Taylor, getting back to stress, I noticed one of the things you said is you don't listen to the news. Now, listening to the news can stress anyone out. What are some of the things you tell your patients to lower the stress levels?
Well, I have another saying. you cannot manage what you cannot measure. So you want to, we say you need to manage your stress. We have to measure it first, So and sometimes it's not that the cortisol is too high; it's too low. That even normal stressors, you don't have enough cortisol to give you enough energy to handle that stress. So now everyday stressors that you used to could handle, you can't handle anymore. So now that even adds on more. So what I would tell people to do is to, how to handle their stress is that some people say, oh, you go and exercise, that's a stress reliever. It can be, but if you overexert yourself, that's another stressor. You can have physical stress and emotional stress. So you don't want to overexercise trying to get rid of your stress. You want to do relaxing exercises, yoga, a nice walk on a nice spring day, smell the roses, pet your dog, walk your dog. All of those are things that are stress relievers. But when your cortisol is low, you have to take action and try and build that back up, that adrenal gland back up. And to do that, the adrenal gland needs vitamin C, and it needs B5, it needs B6. Those two vitamins are very important. And it needs something called NAD. NAD is a form of niacin, and it is the limiting factor for your body to make energy. So we have something called a super energy IV that we give. It has 15 grams of vitamin C, has B5, B6, magnesium, calcium, and anywhere from 50 to 100 milligrams of NAD. And that does wonders to help rebuild the adrenal gland and to help to restore energy. So that's what we do for patients who have, adrenal issues. But yeah, I would tell people you try to avoid stressful situations. I mean, holidays are coming, just passed. If you've got family members that stress you out, make an excuse and say you can't go. If you have, if don't look at, the distressing shows all day. I mean, people internalize things. So especially women need, a lot of times women get they overindulge themselves in other people's problems. Men can kind of compartmentalize again. I don't want to be sexist or anything, but we're supposed to be talking about women. And so, you don't want to do or get involved in a lot of stressful situations until you can recover. And again, women like to, they take care of their parents, they take care of their kids, they take care of their best friend. And all those things can be stressful and sooner or later wear you out where you can't take care of anybody. So women especially need to make sure that they take care of themselves.
Dr. Taylor, I've also learned that patience is very important. It's amazing how people maybe have been overweight, let's say for 20 years, but they want to see instant results right away. And when they don't see instant results, well, this is just something else that isn't working, and I'm going to give up on this. How do you get through to those people not to give up, that this is a process?
Yeah. Well, they say the more contact you have with the patient, seeing them on a monthly basis or whatever, or somehow make them accountable. And that's what, fitness trainers and stuff do. You have to make the patient accountable. And I always have to tell, I try and tell patients, hey, look, you gained this weight over 2 or 3 years. So you can't lose it over 2 or 3 months. And I say, okay, if you lose a pound a week, that seems like nothing. But there's 52 weeks in a year. So at the end of the year, you'd be 52 pounds lighter. But again, they want to lose the 52 pounds in 2 or 3 months. But it's about a lifestyle, just a lifestyle change, not a 6-month diet or a 6-week diet.
Yes.
It's really about, okay, I got to change some of these things. Now, again, if your hormones are out of whack, when I say you have a carbohydrate craving, it is really something the person can't control. So willpower won't do it if you really have a craving that is trying to substitute for actual physical hormonal imbalance. So, I first I try to not blame the patient. is say, hey, look how low your cortisol is. You've got, kids in school, all that stuff. Somehow you've got to get that energy. And if you get it through simple carbohydrates, a lot of that is going to be converted into fat. So I try to fix those things so their cravings go away. Their hormones are in balance. Now we can talk about, okay, let's try and limit your carbs to 50 grams, try to eat, more fruits and vegetables. And I'm going to tell you, I've really become an advocate of a more plant-based diet. I really think that is a good diet to, invite people to or expose people to, because it's really no limit of how much you can eat if you're eating the right kinds of plant-based foods, green leafy vegetables, beans and lentils, all those things, and limit the amount of simple carbohydrates. You can get filled up very quickly off of a plant-based diet. And you could take out the word diet and just say, try to incorporate more of this in your daily living, and you'll see that your weight is a lot easier to control.
Do you see it as a difference working with a male versus a female when it comes to weight loss?
Yeah, and unfortunately, it drives women crazy, because the couple or husband and wife, they'll do the exact same thing. The man will lose 25 pounds. The woman will lose 2.5 pounds. So that estrogen, progesterone, cortisol thing, I think it's much more of a problem in women than it is in men. Men have testosterone, naturally occurring testosterone, which automatically builds muscle, helps to burn fat. So yeah, there's definitely a difference between men and women and how effective any kind of weight loss program is going to be. So yeah, women get very frustrated about that.
We haven't really talked about this yet. And I'm sure there's people out there that went to a doctor and found out it might be hormonal, and the doctor does blood test. You don't do that. You work with a saliva test. Tell people why you feel like that's better.
Well, this is, a lot of times when people say, oh, I have a weight problem, it's probably a hormone issue, the first thing they think of is thyroid. So they'll go to a regular doctor, they'll check the thyroid is normal, TSH, T3 is normal. And then the doctor says, oh, you don't have a hormone problem. That's not it. So then you may go to a doc who thinks they know what they're doing, and they'll do an estrogen, progesterone through the blood. And if they're postmenopausal, it's going to say their estrogen, progesterone, and test all of it's low, because the blood is measuring what's coming from the ovary, and it's really not measuring what is in the tissue. So the reason why I use saliva, and again, I did a 4-year residency in OBGYN at Emory University, and we never drew blood levels of any hormones, because they don't tell you anything. Most of the hormone in the blood is bound and is not actually affecting the tissue. The saliva gland has this fat tissue around the gland, and because hormones are fat soluble, they migrate toward the fat soluble tissue or fat. So you can measure how much hormone is being deposited in that fat tissue around the saliva gland, and that gives you an idea of how much hormone is in the tissue. And the tissue of the breast and the uterus and the brain is where the action is. So you want to balance the hormones where the action is, not where it's on the transportation system. The blood is like the highway. It's like Highway 95 going to Florida. If I want to take a hormone from Georgia, where I am, to Florida, I get on the highway. But as long as it's on the highway, it's not doing anything for you. It has to get off of the highway, go into your house or whatever, and then that's where it has an effect. The saliva tells you what is happening, where the effect is happening, not what's happening on Highway 95 in an 18-wheeler truck. So the blood is a transportation system. The tissue is where things are happening. And that's where you have to balance the hormones. is in the tissue. So if you do saliva testing, there's ranges for estrogen and progesterone. You put them back in balance. With cortisol, you get a patient to give you a saliva sample 4 times during the day. You see what their cortisol curve looks like, and then you can try to correct that with different nutrients, IVs, supplements, whatever, and you can get a patient back to normal.
Dr. Taylor, we just got a text from a listener, and they wanted to know, have you ever heard of a diet pill that actually works? And I just want to follow that up. There are all kinds of mechanisms out there. But, when I hear someone say, is there a diet pill out there? The first thing I think of is, first of all bodies are different. All bodies are not the same. And without knowing what your hormone levels are, how can you take a pill? It's like they're skipping one of the most important parts of what you teach.
Yeah. Well, I agree. I mean, with any weight loss patient, first, like you said, nothing's going to work well if you don't get your hormones straight. Now, I will tell you that I don't know if you've seen commercials for Ozempic or Wegovy or Mounjaro.
Yes.
So that is a drug called semaglutide. Semaglutide acts like something in your body called glucagon that tells your brain that you're full. That is something that we've started using that works well, but I don't use that if the hormones are out of whack, because that's not going to work either.
Right.
So it makes you feel full. It drives glucose into the cells, so it lowers something called hemoglobin A1C. And that actually works better in women than men. So we have used that, and it works well. People lose 10 to 15% of their body weight. And a lot of times, if you can help patients get a jump start, they're more receptive of lifestyle changes. They get very frustrated when they've tried everything and nothing works. But if you can give them a jump start, they're very interested in trying to keep that weight off. So we've begun using that with some patients. We get their hormones straight. If they want, we'll start them on the semaglutide. Now, the Ozempic is very expensive. We get it from a compounding pharmacy, and it's less expensive. But that is one thing that has worked. But again, you're right. Hormones, cortisol, all of that is important just for overall health. Because again, you may try and lose weight, but if a patient's still having hot flashes, can't sleep, mood swings, doesn't have any energy, they may be 10, 15, 20 pounds lighter, but they're still not living a full life. So we're more interested in that than helping you with your weight, because now you're thinking better, you have more energy, you can do things. Now let's work on your weight and see if we can't, maintain that long term and not have you yo-yoing back and forth, 30 pounds, up and down.
Well, we're coming to the end of the show. Dr. Taylor, tell people, because we have people now that are all over Georgia listening to this show.
Mm-hmm.
And tell people how you can treat them basically by Zooming.
Yeah. I have patients in Tennessee and have some patients out west. So yeah, with what we call telehealth or Zoom, most of the things that I do, and even in my practice here, I'm not the primary care physician. You still need to go to your regular doc and let them listen to your heart and all of those things. What I do is a specialty. So most of these things, I can send you a saliva kit. We get the results back. We can Zoom. I can show you the results, point out what's high, what's low, how we're going to fix it. So yeah, I can do it over Zoom or telehealth program that we have. Our office number is 678-443-4000. And our email, our website address is taylormedicalgroup.net. taylormedicalgroup.net. On that website, you can book an appointment online 24/7. You can book a telehealth appointment. And we have a lot of information about saliva testing, about weight loss, about hormones. So just as an informational source, you're welcome to come to our website, taylormedicalgroup.net.
That's actually the best way to contact you is through your website.
Yeah, and you can send an email through the website. I get all the emails that come in my phone. So, if you reference this show, I'll know, how you found me, and I'll make sure, that I try and respond to you.
Dr. Taylor is with us twice every month, and I got to tell you, he'll be back with us again towards the end of this month, and you want your friends and family members to tune in. Listen to Dr. Taylor. It just makes sense. We are blessed to have him. And Dr. Taylor, we will see you again in a couple of weeks. Thank you so much for being our expert on Ask the Experts.
All right. Thank you so much, Steve. See you next time.
Yes. That was Dr. Eldred Taylor. We have just, I am so glad that we have him, his practice, because I understand I'm going through it now, trying to lose weight. It's not easy. My fiance is actually a patient of Dr. Taylor, and we actually found out because she's in her early 60s, did everything she can to lose weight. I mean, here's somebody who wants to lose the weight, has tried everything, and actually many of the things she tried, she actually gained weight. So it was really interesting to see her saliva tests come back to find out what she was missing. And one of the things we'll go into is Dr. Taylor and his wife also do supplements too. And, I'm just saying we're just so blessed to have him. That's it for us today. Please join us next Wednesday at 10 o'clock. And remember, today's show is brought to you by attorney Todd Hensington. He's considered one of the top personal injury attorneys in the Atlanta area. His phone number is 404-835-4935. Attorney Todd Hensington. We'll see you all again next week with more Ask the Experts.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.